Okay, we have the basketball hoop boxes opened up here. We've got the backboard, the net, basketball, the long brackets, the back plate and the front plate, the rim, instructions, and we've got most of the hardware in here. Okay, so we've moved everything over to the workbench here. I removed all the plastic, opened things up here. So there's, in the instruction manual, there's a type A assembly and a type B assembly. We're going to do the type A assembly for this demonstration here. So we've got a couple wrenches here that you can use for the install. I prefer to use my drill gun here with an 11/16 socket and wrench, and then a 1/2 inch socket as well. If you don't have those, these will work. So with the type A assembly, we're going to remove some hardware from this area because we will not need it for this assembly. You've got the 2 longest bolts in here. We can remove those. We've got another small M8 bolt, a small spring, and then one of the clamps you can also remove. So once that is out, we've got the cap here that we'll set aside, and we'll jump into the installation here. Back plate, I like to start there. That'll go on. The backboard here, there's 2 holes that'll line up with these 2 center holes as well. And then you'll see up top here, that's inverted there. Those go face upward. I've got the front plate right here with this bolt and a nut. This nut right here will go on the bottom side of the front plate. And once that's in, sometimes if it doesn't go in that well, you can use a rubber mallet just to tap it in, but it's in right now. So we're going to flip this on the front side. So this area right here, this piece, metal piece, is facing upward on the hoop. And then we're going to take this bolt right here, put it in there, and it's going to be a Phillips tip. And you want to tighten it. You want your finger on the bottom of that nut. You want to tighten this until it's flush with that nut. After that is done, we'll put this net on. You'll see it's just connected with Velcro. All right, net's on. Just like to twist it so it's facing the right way there. And we will set this aside for now. Flip the backboard over here. Okay, so on this front side, you can see that the M8 bolt went up through here, and it's flush with the top of the nut right there. So next, we'll take the 90mm bolt and drop it down into that top hole right there. And then here we've got the 125mm bolts, 2 of those, and then the 100mm bolts. We've got 2 of those as well. So what I like to do is take both nuts off as well as the washer. So it's just this setup here with the spring and the 2 spring washers on this. And I do that with all 4 of these bolts. Okay, after all the washers, nuts are off, take the rim here and set it in there. take the 100mm bolt and drop it in, top hole there. Just like to hand tighten it. Take the other 100mm bolt, same thing on that top side. Just get it hand tightened right now. And then take the 125mm bolt, same setup with the spring, 2 spring washers on there, and the bottom side. Hand tighten that. After that's done, you can use these tools to tighten things up. I prefer to use the drill gun here. So one thing you don't want to do is over tighten these. You want to tighten it until there isn't any movement on this spring here. Okay, after the top 2 are done, we'll move to these bottom ones here. Okay, you want to look underneath, make sure they're equal here, about the same distance down on each side. After that's done, we will flip this over to put the hardware on. So after it's flipped over, we'll take the long rails here. There's 2 of these guys. I prefer to use the circle end over that bolt right there. We'll put these 2 guys down, and then we'll grab the 2 25mm M10 bolts, and we'll hand tighten those guys right there. Okay, and then these 4 bolts right here, they each get a washer. The top 2 get the lock nut with the blue ring in there. And then the bottom 2 just get the regular nut. After those are on, we'll tighten things up. And with all 4 of these, you don't want to over tighten them. So once they get tight, maybe 1 more turn and you're good to go. And then tighten these as well. And if you don't have these tools, you can use the tools that came with the hoop. And then the acorn nuts right here, they go on the top side on those 2, and we'll just do 1 little turn here. 2 of the regular nuts, you also do not need those for this Type A assembly. Now that we've got everything attached here, we will connect one of the poles that we assembled earlier to the hoop. So we'll take the black cap here, has the 2 holes in it, put it down in, and it'll line up with these 2 holes on the pole. Next, you want to drop this pole where the holes are and insert this bolt right here through both of the holes. You want to make sure it's nice and straight going back, and then take a washer, a lock nut, which is going to be 1/2 inch. You can hand tighten that. And then we've got the clamp here. We'll take one of the 11/16 lock nut, hand tighten, and same with this other side. We'll hand tighten that. And then we'll tighten these 2 guys up here. Two acorns. And then we'll switch to the 1/2 inch. Tighten this. And then we've got the acorn right here. Put that on top. Tighten that as well. And that is it. All right, for the ladder assembly, this is a 3-step ladder. We've got the 3 steps. have the hardware here, the two side rails, and then the base piece. So we'll tear open the hardware here. What I'd like to do is, you have a couple different size bolts here. You're gonna have 6 of these bolts, and then you're gonna have 2 of these shorter bolts here with the acorns on top. We'll take all of the square nuts off, and then we'll get these guys separated as well. Leave one washer on. Okay. So we'll start with one of the steps. Easiest way. You want this incline here, you want it going upward away from you. Drop these guys in. You want to push it up. There's 3 holes here. One here, and one down here. So we want to push it up to the 3rd hole as close as we can get it on both sides. We'll lay it down here, and we'll take one of these square nuts, and on the bottom side, right below the pole, there's a little square opening there, and we're going to slide that in. And once that's slid in, I like to take one of the bolts and just push that in to make sure it's all the way in. After we do that, you got to eyeball the hole, drop this in, and then just hand tighten it. We'll flip it over, do it on the opposite side here. Once again, the square nut, we'll push that in, and then we'll take one of the long bolts here, make sure that's all the way in, and then drop it in, hand tighten it. And do the same with the 2nd and 3rd step here. Okay, after the 3 steps are on, take the bottom piece here. We'll just drop it in, and sometimes you gotta tap it down a little bit so it fits in. And then we'll take the shorter bolt here. We'll have one small washer on it. And sometimes you gotta turn it just this rail a little bit to get it to drop through. And then we'll take another washer here, and then the acorn nut, and just hand tighten that. Do the same on the other side. And hand tighten that. So you can use a regular Phillips screwdriver on this and hand tighten it, or I prefer to use this. It's a little quicker. You got to be careful not to over tighten things because it will crack these steps if you do. So on the bottom side here, you can use a Leatherman or a wrench to hold that bottom side and just tighten that up. And here you just got to tighten it because that square nut is on the inside being held. We'll flip it over and do the same thing on this side. And the ladder is completely assembled. All right, the pre-assembly of the AlleyOOP 10x17 is completed. Make sure you check out our other video of the complete AlleyOOP 10x17 installation. Thanks for watching.